Jack was in a great mood that day. The last few projects he completed had been recognized by the owners of the corporation, and he'd been offered a promotion from an entry-level, albeit highly paid, position to a management position. Jack imagined how pleased his wife Emma would be to hear about it. She had always talked about how he deserved better. Now their income level would increase exponentially. And that meant a summer vacation to the Mediterranean. Emma had long dreamed of traveling the world, and Jack himself was not averse to seeing other countries. Thinking about the vacation, Jack smiled. Indeed, he deserved it. For the last few months he didn't sleep at all, didn't leave his computer and worked. That's why he was especially glad that the management had given him a whole week of paid vacation. Jack decided that he would first get a good night's sleep and then devote all his time to his wife, filling it with love and romance. Maybe now she would even agree to bear him a child. It was time to think about that too. After all, they had been married for 3 years already. In fact, Jack was sure that he was very lucky to have a wife. After all, she was a great cleverness. At home he was always waiting for order and comfort, and what dishes she served for dinner could envy any restaurant. Jack had long since forgotten the days when Emma was just learning to manage. Everything was always burnt, half-saturated or undersalted, and it could take all day to clean up. But in time, all that had passed, and Emma had learned to cook such masterpieces that Jack marveled at them. She had one disadvantage: she couldn't save money at all, but he tried to live with it and worked more and more, not refusing either overtime or part-time jobs. By evening he was so tired that he often refused to eat dinner because he had no energy left for it. But now everything would be different, and it made Jack so happy that he flew home on wings. "Emma, I'm home," Jack called out, shifting in the hallway. His wife didn't answer, but something was frying in the kitchen, as the aroma wafted throughout the apartment, and the vacuum cleaner was running in the bedroom. Jack smiled and hurried into the bedroom, but when he entered, he froze on the threshold. There stood a strange girl in an apron and headscarf, cleaning the room so diligently that she didn't even notice him at once. "Oh," the girl looked at him fearfully, turning around and turning off the vacuum cleaner. "I'm sorry, I didn't know you were coming back." "Who are you?" Jack's amazement was unparalleled. "Emily. I'm your housekeeper." "For how long?" "For over 2 years now. Only Emma absolutely forbids me to show up here when you're home." "Oh," she shrieked again and disappeared into the kitchen. Jack followed her. Emily took the duck and apples out of the oven, wiped them with a napkin, then sprayed them with something and set them aside. "I take it this is our dinner." "Yes, and the stuffed cabbage you like so much and the lentil soup. Emma always makes the menu. Profiteroles for the sweet tooth." "Right. So, Emily, you come to clean and cook for us, yes?" "How often?" "Every day except weekends." "Yeah. I wonder who cooks on the weekends?" "I cook on Friday, and it can be defrosted or just reheated. But I shouldn't be talking about all this." "Oh, I'm sorry. I've got everything ready. I'll just put the vacuum cleaner and buckets away now and then I'll go or Emma will be really angry." The girl ran to the bedroom. Jack followed her. "How does Emma pay you?" "Every week." "How much?" Emily told him the amount. "Not much. You're a wonderful hostess, Emily, and you deserve so much more." Jack took out several large bills and handed them to the girl. Now, don't be embarrassed, take it. Consider it a bonus from me personally." Emily hesitated and took the money. "Thank you. Your husband is a very lucky man. I'm not married. We live with my mom, she's sick. I take care of her. So I had to quit school and find a way to earn money." "You did? Well, Emily, thank you again, and I won't keep you any longer." The door slammed behind her a moment later, and Jack leaned back in his chair and thought. He hated lies more than anything else in the world, and he didn't understand why Emma had to come up with such elaborate schemes. Was it so hard to learn how to run a simple household? The mood was beginning to sour. Okay, a housekeeper, but why would she lie? Emma arrived 2 hours later and was surprised to see her husband home. "Oh, hey. Why aren't you at work?" "Emma, we need to have a serious talk with you." "About what?" "Is something wrong with the projects?" "Nothing's wrong." "There's nothing wrong with the projects," Jack said impatiently, not wanting to talk about his work right now. "You can congratulate me." "Did you get promoted?" "No, I got fired." Jack grinned, going back to the beginning of the conversation. But Emma's face immediately changed. "What do you mean, fired? You're crazy. You promised you'd be fine, promised you'd have lots of money. What are we gonna live on now?" "Yes. We still have to support a housekeeper." "So you know everything. You got that brainless girl after all." "I asked her," Emma shouted. "Why? Why did you lie to me?" "What the hell?" "Yes, you and I had a housekeeper. Why do you think I had to do all this?" "I don't like cooking. I don't like cleaning either. Do you have any idea how much my manicures cost?" Emma was angry, but then she sat down next to her husband. "Come on, Jack, don't pout. It's my fault. But we had such a good life. Everything was wonderful with you. Let's make up. Come on, Jack. Everybody lives like this. Nova has 3 maids. She doesn't even have a husband. She lives for her own pleasure. What's wrong with me?" "Jack. You were joking about getting fired, weren't you?" "I was kidding," Jack said. "Let's go to dinner, and I want to go to bed. I'm very tired." Emma reluctantly got up and followed him, seeing that he didn't want to talk. She was very angry. Everything was working out so well. And now, all because of that stupid Emily. I told her to stay away from Jack. He's good, too. Why is he home so early? Something's wrong. In the morning, Emma woke up to find Jack still asleep. Widening her eyes in surprise, she started to wake him up by pushing him. "You overslept. You're late for work. It's 10 o'clock. Jack. Give me a break. I'm not going anywhere." He grumbled, rolling over onto his other side. He didn't want to get up at all. Sleeping until this hour was an unbelievable pleasure. But Emma was determined not to give up and find out. "Jack," she said to her husband again. "You've lost your job after all." "Well, yes," Jack lifted himself up, leaning on the pillow, then drew his wife to him. "You're going to love me without a job? Are you out of your mind?" She started to burst out and jumped up from the bed. "How are we going to live now? What are you so worried about?" "I'll get another job." "When?" "After we starve to death." "Don't exaggerate. We have some savings for emergencies." "No. I've withdrawn everything." "What are you looking at? You think we've been living on your paycheck this whole time?" "I don't think so. You've never been anywhere, you don't know prices." "Of course I don't. I'm always at work." "You don't have a job anymore." Emma ran out of the room in tears, and Jack frowned. The joke had gone on long enough. But somehow he didn't feel like convincing Emma otherwise. Was money really that important to her? But he'd always made a decent living. Why should she doubt him? Suddenly another unpleasant thought struck him. she was only with him for the money. Emma had always been affectionate and tender when he gave her gifts, transferred money to her card, made surprises. But now she decided he was in trouble and was ready to tear him apart. What if he gets sick? He'll become infirm. What then? Jack got up and went into the kitchen to see his wife. Remember when I said yesterday that we needed to have a serious talk? Well, tell me first, she interrupted him, why you got kicked out of your job. Why? I just called Nova, and she said her husband's in your place now. Jack. I'm sick. I could be on disability soon, Jack suddenly told his wife, wanting to see her reaction. Who needs an employee like that? What the hell are you talking about? What's wrong with you? It's a complicated diagnosis. It's treatable, of course, but it takes a lot of money. I was counting on our savings. Emma sat down at the table and burst into tears. And Jack stood over her and thought about the fact that it hadn't even occurred to her to somehow support him, to comfort him. Emma, you're not going to leave me, are you? Come on, she said, raising her tear-stained face to him. Of course not. Jack's short vacation was not what he had expected. Emma was almost never home, and when they were together, she did her best to avoid him. It even seemed to Jack that she was squeamish about him. They only ate pizza and various set meals now. Kadia's delicious meals were a thing of the past. There was no holiday mood either. Emma became more taciturn and cried often, shutting herself in her bedroom. On the fourth day, Jack received a call from the chief's secretary saying she was expecting him. Jack quickly got ready and left the house without waking Emma as he usually did. Jack spent the whole day at work, and then on his way home he bought flowers and a cake. He was tired of the drab atmosphere that now reigned in their apartment, and Jack decided to confess to Emma that it had all been a simple misunderstanding. Except Emma wasn't home. Jack was greeted by the open doors of empty closets, open drawers where she kept her gold, and even a couple of expensive paintings were not there. In their place there were only clothes. 6 months passed. One day Jack was walking home. Suddenly he saw a girl step out into the road, as if not noticing that a car was coming at her. Jack jumped up and at the last moment managed to pull the girl aside. The car swerved, brakes squealed, and a horn sounded. But Jack had already pulled the stranger to him, standing a safe distance from the road. Are you tired of living? He pulled away slightly and looked into her face. Emily. What are you? He began and only now noticed the black bandage on her head. Mom? He asked, having already guessed everything. The girl nodded. She recognized Jack, too. Now the girl came to her senses and thanked him. I really didn't see the car. I was thinking about it. I was just at the cemetery. Today is the 40th day. I was carrying flowers, the girl sighed. I sympathize with you, Emily. But, as corny as it sounds, you have to live. Do you understand? Let me take you home. Jack took the girl's hand and led her down the sidewalk to his car. Wait, what about Emma? We're divorced. Look, Emily, why don't we take a walk? She looked at him and nodded. They walked slowly down the shady alley and talked about everything in the world. Jack even managed to make Kadia smile a few times. Emily had loved to read fairy tales about beautiful love since she was a little girl. They told how a gentle and kind prince fell in love with a poor girl and she turned into a beautiful princess. Kadia wished very much that the same story would happen to her someday. But what chance did the poor girl have of meeting such a prince? The first time she saw Jack, Emily felt her heart beating hard. But he was married, and she was only a housekeeper. Could there be anything in common between them? Of course not. And Emily had so loved to admire his portrait, which stood framed on a shelf in the parlor. Every time Emily went to Jack's house, she would gently touch the portrait and sigh softly, feeling her heart sink with love. The day after Jack caught her at home, Emma called her and scolded her and told her not to come to their house again. And so Jack remained Emily's pipe dream. And then fate collided them on this road. 3 months later, Jack and Emily applied to the registry office. They didn't have a wedding, Emily didn't want one. They got married and went on a wedding trip to the Mediterranean Sea. Jack was happy. With Emily was so easy and natural that he could not even believe that it happens. A year later they had their first son. 2 more years later, a daughter. The happy family spent a lot of time together, and Jack treasured every moment he was with them. Several years passed. One day Jack went to the mall to buy New Year's gifts for his wife and children. He spent a long time choosing something they would like, and as he walked to the escalator, he accidentally bumped into the cleaning lady. "Oh, excuse me." He hurriedly apologized. She turned around and Jack froze in place. It was Emma. "Jack. You're so. And I thought," she whispered. He looked at her with all his eyes and couldn't believe he was looking at his ex-wife. She was fat and flabby and must have forgotten what an expensive manicure was. "I see you're living well," she told him. "So you've recovered and found a new job?" "I wasn't sick. And I'm still working at the same place. Only now I'm the director of the company." "And you?" Emma waved her hand. "Jack, why don't we get together? I'm married, I have 2 kids. So I'm sorry." He stepped aside, letting people pass, stepped onto the stairs and soon disappeared into the crowd. Emma stood staring after him for a long time.